So in this video, we're going to look at hypothesis testing in Minitab, testing the difference of two means. I'm using this example of I'm thinking about tutoring and wondering how much I can charge. In this video, I'm wondering if there's a difference in the amount of money that an elementary school age, the parent of an elementary school age parent would pay compared to secondary. So of the 72 parents of school-age children who were asked in a recent survey how much they'd be willing to pay for tutoring, 38 were parents of middle school children, and the other 34 were parents of high school students. The parents of the middle school children were willing to pay a mean of $56 with a standard deviation of 10. The parents of high school children were willing to pay a mean of $82 with a standard deviation of 12. Okay, so I'm assuming that the fact that the high school children are getting closer to going to college, that maybe their parents are willing to pay more than middle or elementary school, the parents of middle or elementary school children. So we're going to do a test at a 5% significance level, whether my assumption is correct that there's a difference in the amount that they're willing to pay. So in Minitab, I'm going to go to Stat, Basic Statistics, and I'm going to go to two sample. Now in the one sample, the video on the one sample test, we could either do a Z or a T. In Minitab, for two sample, we go right to the T test. I don't have my samples in one column. I don't have my samples in each in its own column. In this case, I have summarized data. So sample one, I'll just make that my first group, which was the parents of middle school children, okay? 38 were surveyed, okay? And they were willing to pay a mean of $56 with a standard deviation of 10. Of the 34 parents in the survey who were parents of high school children, they were willing to pay a mean of $82 with a standard deviation of 12. Now notice in the single mean or single proportion, there's a click box here that I click if I'm going to perform a hypothesis test. In this case, Minitab is assuming we're going to do a hypothesis test. Before we click OK, we're going to go to Options. We're going to make sure that our confidence level is set correctly. The default is 95%. We are at 95%. Okay. I'm testing, if I read through this again, I'm assuming that there's a difference. I wonder if there is a difference. Okay. And so my null hypothesis is that the difference is 0. And that's my default here. I'm going to leave that at 0. So my alternate hypothesis is going to be that there is a difference. The difference is not 0. Okay. Now assume equal variances here. This is the pooled versus not pooled question. I'm not going to assume that it's reasonable to conclude that the standard deviations for both groups are the same. So I'm going to leave that unclicked. I'm not going to assume equal standard deviations for the two populations. So now I simply click OK and OK. So I'm testing for difference in the two proportions. Okay. Sample one is parents of the younger children, middle school, elementary school children. Mean is 56, standard deviation of 10. We put that in. 82 for the mean and standard deviation for the 12 for the standard deviation for the high school parents of high school children. Okay. We see the confidence interval for the difference. Our null hypothesis is that there is no difference, mu1 minus mu2, there is no difference in the means. My alternate is that there is a difference in the means, and with a p-value of 0.000, which is less than 0.05, it is reasonable to conclude that there is a difference. So what is that difference? Well, the confidence interval tells me I can be 95% confidence that the difference is somewhere between $31 and $21 lower that the parents of middle or elementary school children are willing to pay compared to high school, parents of high school students. Or if I want to flip that around, the parents of high school students are willing to pay between $21 and $31 more than middle or elementary. Okay, so there's just a quick introduction into hypothesis testing for the difference of two means in Minitab.